Welcome to This Organized Life. If you're a mom, wife, or coffee lover seeking advice on how to reduce clutter and reclaim time, look no further than your host, Lori Palau, founder of Simply Be Organized and author of Hot Mess, a practical guide to getting organized. For a lot of people, clutter is their dirty little secret, but it doesn't have to be. Each week, we will share practical tips, chat with experts, and provide strategies on how to keep you organized. I hope that by sharing our stories, you feel a little less alone and more empowered to tackle the areas that are holding you back. So let's get started!
Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of This Organized Life. I'm your host, Lori Palau. So happy that you're here. If this is your first time tuning in, I know we've recently got a lot of new listeners. Let me tell you a little bit about our show. We are a weekly show that gives practical advice and suggestions about how to navigate clutter and live a more organized life in the most simplest of terms. And what does that even mean? It means we're not just going to focus in on what products are good, but we're going to talk about why your clutter gets here and what can we do about it. We look at clutter from basically the inside out. And if you're somebody that is interested in the psychology of clutter, you're in the right place. If you are interested in maybe starting your own professional organizing business, or you have an organizing business and you want to learn how some other people do it, or how to address some issues that you might be seeing with your own clients, you're in the right spot. If you are looking for ways to better help communicate and empower the people in your life, be that your spouse or your kids or your aging parents, you are in the right place. And if you're just looking for some entertainment, hopefully we have a couple funny anecdotes that come along the way to entertain you and just kind of lighten the heaviness that comes with the topic of decluttering and organization, which again, in and of itself is a little bit dry, a little bit boring. But today I want to talk about some overlooked spaces in your home and why those overlooked spaces cost you time, money, and most importantly, your sanity. And we have an event, the impetus for me doing this episode in the spirit of transparency is we have this Clutter Clinic series that we are running. It is a live workshop. It's live over Zoom, but it is live interactive with you and me. And each Clutter Clinic, we're running them over a span of 6 months, and you can drop in and choose the topics that resonate with you most. We're going to be doing a deep dive into multiple clutter pockets in our homes and what to do about them. And I'll be doing live Q&A, and we just did one on closets in the beginning of April. And now we're gearing up for our May Clutter Clinic, which is all about garages. And for so many people, garages are this, they're almost like, and I mean this with no disrespect, they're like that stepchild of organizing where people are not they don't often give the same attention to their garages because they are almost like an ancillary space. And you can fill in the blank with, sheds, sometimes even attics or unfinished basements. But specifically where we live in the Northeast, the majority of people, if they live in a house where I am, a lot of people have garages. And the thought of even parking one car in there can seem like a foreign concept. And the floor winds up becoming a dumping ground, and they can't find what they need. And all of these feelings of frustration add up. And the interesting part is the garage is often the entryway point for a lot of people. The kids come in through the garage, you go in and out the garage to go to work, but yet we use this space as a pass-through in our home, but we don't treat it with the same respect and give it the same proper attention when it comes to organization that we would, say, our kitchen or some other rooms of the house. And I want to use this opportunity to change change your mindset on this. And so I want to talk about I'm going to talk about five different kind of reasons why this garage space often becomes the afterthought. And of course, because I'm all about practical solutions, what can we do about it? Like, we know that this is a problem. I think identifying the problem is the first step. But then the second step is, okay, now that we know this, what do we do about it? So let's get right into it. All right. Number one is the old out of sight, out of mind. I don't know about you, but oftentimes when you don't know what to do with something, you say, well, I'm just going to put it out of here. And you want to get it out of sight. And that's a very Enneagram 3 tactic for all my Enneagram people. They don't like to see clutter. And so if you don't have a proper home for something of where something's going to live, let's just put it in the garage. And what happens is we then don't always put it away systematically. And so it just accumulates. And if you don't know where you're putting stuff or you're just putting it away mindlessly, when you go to retrieve it, you don't know that you even have it or you forgot about it. Why? Because we have so many other things on our minds. We have so many other things going on that, like, we forget, oh, we put that extra roll of paper towels out there, or I put I bought extra packing tape for all my Amazon returns and I just shoved it on a shelf as opposed to like defining a proper space for it. And I'm not saying this with any judgment or shame. I'm just saying the reality of this is what I see when I go into people's homes and I see these recurring patterns of like, I bought it, I was busy, I was doing 1,000 other different things. And so I just shoved it on a shelf. I shoved it in a drawer. I shoved it in a cabinet. And all of a sudden, when I go to need it, I don't know where it is. So what do? I buy it again. And so that's what happens a lot of times with the out of sight, out of mind. And so we talk about our clutter costing us money and time and sanity. That checks all the boxes, because even though a lot of times the stuff that we're rebuying isn't a large monetary sum in and of itself, it winds up becoming death by a thousand cuts. I think if we were to sit down and add up all of the extra things that we bought, and you could fill this in for the grocery store or clothing that you forget that you have, or again, household items are the most common. And you're like, oh, I didn't check our backstock area, or I don't even have a backstock area. And so you buy this stuff only to find out that you have it again. And that's just money that you could have applied to something else, or better yet, saved it. And then the time factor is like, who has time to waste on these things? So how do we avoid this out of sight, out of mind? Well, again, the most common answer is, let's just define the space and put the time in upfront to put it away intentionally as opposed to mindlessly. Because when we go to retrieve it, we go to look for it, we need to know where it is. And that is really the crux of it, right? We don't want to just put things away mindlessly, because then notoriously we don't know where it is. So let's try to avoid, number one, the out of sight, out of mind. And so what I'm going to ask you to do right now is think about some of the things that you wind up repeatedly putting away mindlessly. And maybe it's your kids' toys, or maybe it is the mail, or maybe it is when the Amazon purchases come in and you just leave them in the garage, or whatever that is. Start to notice your own patterns. Start to look at, what are the things that get shoved, inadvertently? What's going on in my life when that happens? Why do I keep doing it? Like, what are the reasons? And not from a shame and judgment standpoint, but more curiosity. I want you to look at all of these different things from a curiosity standpoint, because when we can start to like take an objective view without feeling like we're being attacked or judged, we put our defenses down. And that's really what I want you to do, is just put your defenses down and say, let's look at this from an objective point of view. Why do I fall into this pattern? Okay. The next thing is what I call the clutter tax of time. And the clutter tax of time is, You throw all of your stuff into the big bin, and then you kind of have an idea it's here. So it's not that you don't know where it is, but you have to waste all this time digging through this. And I see this a lot with kids' stuff, with kids' toys. And I remember when my girls were younger, I would have like play dates with my friends, and they would have these big, ginormous like toy bins. And they would go, I don't understand why the kids have to dump everything out and then they never put it away. And I would say, well, they're looking for whatever they want to play with at the time. And if everything is in this one big vat, this big dumping ground, in order for them to find it, the path of least resistance for a child is I'm going to dump it out. I'm going to find what I'm looking for. But then we wind up having to take that extra step of now putting it all back. And I see that pattern happen with adults too. And it happens in multiple areas. But garages are a big common area for that to happen because we oftentimes have space. It's a bigger space. So you can have a big bin, you can have a big basket, you can have these larger scale areas in order for you to put stuff in. And so then when you go to look for it, you wind up digging through all this other stuff. And that is frustrating. It's time consuming. And it adds to that visual stress because now you have to take it out, you have to put it away. And I'm all about let's have a simple system for putting things away. I don't want it to be complex. I don't want you to have to be like, okay, we're color coding every little thing so that, because that's not realistic for the everyday person, right? No one's going to be doing that. But I think we have to find that middle ground from we're just going to dump every toy or every household cleaning product in this one bin to okay, let's separate it and we're going to zone it and we're going to put our car stuff here and our gardening stuff here and our backstop household stuff over here. That way when I go to look for it, I can find what I'm looking for. I know for us, like here's a perfect example. So we have Christmas lights and I store my seasonal stuff in the garage just because of the way our house is laid out. I don't store it in our basement. We don't have enough room. So I have shelving up in our garage and I have, instead of just doing all Christmas lights together, I have indoor Christmas lights and I have outdoor Christmas lights. And that in and of itself allows me to simplify when I'm, okay, Josh, you're going to go do the outside stuff. Here's our outdoor decor. Here's our inside stuff. And so those little things, you could argue a case and say, we have all light bulbs and we put all light bulbs in one thing. But wouldn't it be easier if you're like, oh, here are a specific type. So try to think about when does it make sense for you to get really niched in and finding that sweet spot between niching in and getting like micromanaging is often that's that delicate balance. But I want you to just again come back to where do we have conflict? Where do we find that we're wasting time? Where are there times that the kids are asking me for things that that I know are out there and they should know where they are? Look at those situations and then you can reverse engineer it. So don't create a problem that isn't there, but look at the common areas that are sucking up unnecessary time in your life. Okay. The third thing is using the garage floor as a drop zone. Now, this is probably, I would say, if I had to speculate, one of the most common struggles that I see clients with the garage is using the floor as kind of a drop zone. And oftentimes we have the opportunity to maximize space differently in our garage. We can have shelving, we can have hooks, you can do DIY stuff and go to a big box store and just, get your own stuff. You can build it or you can have like a custom garage system, right? There's such a vast spectrum of how you use your space how much money you want to invest in it, the purpose, all the things. So there's not a one size fits all, right? And I've seen some of the most organized garages be stuff that people just put together on their own, right? They went to a hardware store, they got some hooks and they got built some shelving and called it a day. And the difference is that they aren't one of the biggest differences, I should say, is getting stuff off the floor and putting them up on the walls, right? Getting them up. Now, there are certain things that are likely going to live on a floor that, for whatever reason, are either too heavy or just doesn't make sense. Like if you've got in a garage, you've got a snowblower or a lawnmower or things like that that maybe you don't have a shed, and so that stuff lives there. A generator, those things are heavy and bulky, and they're going to live on the floor. But aside from that, what are the items that are currently on your floor that could be elevated, that could be up? Because when you can keep your floor clean, it makes it it is so much easier to navigate in and out of the space. It allows you to walk to your car easier. It allows people to come in and out easier. It allows you to access. You don't have to keep bending down to get what you need. Even for kids, the more stuff that you can have at eye level, the less clutter you're going to have because you can see it. Clutter that kind of floats below the surface tends to just kind of hang there like ocean sludge. I don't know how else to say it. Like that's the image that I'm conjuring up. It's like the stuff that floats below the surface that we know is there, but we don't see it. We just kind of feel it. And it's like it grazes us and it's annoying and we try to ignore it, but we know it's there. I want you to have your garage be like clear ocean water. I want you to be able to walk in there with this sense of calm and a sense of peace and not going, what am I going to step on? What is lurking beneath the surface? And for so many people, the garage floor winds up becoming that. And so that is, it's your first impression. And when you can come in there, think about your main home. If you just came in and just had stuff all over the floor all the time, that would drive you insane. And so treat your garage floor the way that you would treat your entryway floor. If you're not going to have stuff, and if somebody does use the entryway, I tell them all the time, if that's where your kids come in, we want to have hooks by the front door for their backpacks or, a bin for their shoes, because you don't want things just laying on the floor in perpetuity. So your garage should not be treated any different. Okay. The next thing is the fact that garage, and this kind of touches on the same topic of number one, is really about the notion of the decision fatigue of I don't have a home for this. I don't know what to do. I'm going to put it there. But it's the out of sight, out of mind because I'm just exhausted. I am just mentally exhausted from having to make 10,000 decisions. I have 10,000 decisions that I have to make at the house. I have 10,000 decisions I have to make at work. And the last thing that I want to do is sit there and look at this big space, right? Whether you have a 1-car garage, a 2-car garage, 3-car garage, whatever it is, I'm looking at this big space. And if you take it for what it is, it's a big empty room with opportunity. It is a big empty room with potential, but without a clear plan of how to utilize that space, it easily can become a big dumping ground for everything. And so I want you to look at this as the extension of the house, not just the abyss of where we throw things. And I've had this conversation with people about attics and basements as well. So a lot of these themes will cross over. So if you are somebody that doesn't have a garage, but maybe you have an attic or basement, you can relate to this because again, the strategies are going to still apply, right? So maybe you're not going to park your car in your attic, but you want to be able to find this stuff. You want to be able to have a system. You want to be able to zone it. And that is one of the things that you're going to want to look in, which goes to number 5, which is it's one space with many purposes. Most of the other spaces in your house have a single purpose, right? Occasionally they'll have like a multiple, like a kitchen kind of doubles as like an entertaining space, maybe a homework space, but it's also like where we cook and prep food and eat. The home office is where we do work. Our bedroom is where we sleep. So all of the other spaces in our home have a very defined function. Now, the garage is multi-purpose. It could be the place where I store backstock supplies. It is this place where I store seasonal decor. It is a space where I do store gardening and automotive and tools. So you have all of these multi-function places under one roof in the space. And so I like to approach it, and this is what we're going to kind of dive deeper into in Clutter Clinic Garage, just as a little teaser for you. We're going to talk about how do you identify creating these mini zones, almost like mini rooms within the hub of your garage, right? If whether it is we're going to have sports and we're going to have a play area, we're going to have outdoor games. Maybe you're somebody has beach chairs or stuff for the lake or camping. Each one of those spots needs its own designated area. And a lot of times people will give me the eye roll of I don't have the time, and this is where the money factor comes in. But I will come back and say, you can't afford not to. And if we're going to take on all of these hobbies and interests and have all this different stuff, we owe it to ourselves and the people in our homes to treat this stuff with respect, treat our time with the respect that it deserves, and give our space the storage and the layout that it needs in order for you to be able to find what you're looking for. And again, that doesn't mean it has to cost a fortune, but I guarantee you, if you are someone whose garage is a disaster and it takes you, 10 times as long to find something because you have to dig through and you don't even know where it is and you're frustrated, the price that you are paying for that is way more than the time it would take you to either carve out time in your schedule to get it organized or outsource it and pay somebody else to get it organized. And so if that is you, again, I'm not coming at this from a place of shame or a place of judgment, but you and your space deserve it to be organized. And the garage is oftentimes the most overlooked space in the house. And it's also overlooked because there are so many different options out there. And decision fatigue winds up playing a huge role in I don't know where to even begin. I don't even know what the right system is for how we use the space. And the system is always going to look different, right? So for most people, I'm going to always recommend going vertical, but how and what products we use and in what capacity is going to vary based on your own interests and lifestyle. And so for some people, that's going to be a built-in. For other people, it's going to be a modular thing. For some people, it's going to be hooks. Other people, it's going to be shelves. There's so many nuances that can cause people that feeling of overwhelm that they just say, forget it. I am just not even going to be touching it. And so if that's you, would love for you to come to our Clutter Clinic Garage. It's again, any of this episode resonated with you, we're going to dive deeper. We're going to be talking about specific strategies. I'm going to be talking about specific products, what I think are like the pros and cons about each one, the advantages and disadvantages, how an organized garage, I'm not a realtor, but I work with a lot of realtors, and how having an organized garage can help add value to your home. And then especially if you are in the market of like looking to sell your home, how that can, increase the attraction to a potential buyer. There's so many advantages for investing your time, money, and resources into decluttering and organizing this oftentimes overlooked space known as the garage. So I hope this has been helpful and useful. If you know somebody and you're sitting there thinking, oh, I know somebody that could really benefit from listening to this, share this episode with them, right? This is how people learn strategies, is other people share them with them. And I know if that were me, I would appreciate it. So just do your friends a favor and click the share button. And I hope that if you are interested in Clutter Clinic Garage, there's going to be a link below in our show notes. You can also visit our website, which is simply just the letter B, organized.com/workshop. And if you'll see, there's a tab right on there, and you can go and register for our event. So I'm Lori Palau. Until next week, I will see you then. Have an awesome one. Take care. Peace out. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, please spread the love and share it with your friends. And if this is your first time joining us, make sure to click the subscribe button wherever you are listening so you never miss an episode. And while you're there, please leave us a review so other people know that our show is worth the listen. You can also find us on YouTube and Instagram at This Organized Life Podcast. And if you'd like to connect with us, you can head on over to our website at simply the letter B like boy organized.com, which is filled with tons of resources, including free downloads, checklists, links to our amazing organizing partners, and all of our digital offerings. I'll see you next week for another episode of This Organized Life.